The shuttle landed on planet Varus 7 with a soft hum. Park Do-hyun looked out the small window at the massive buildings of the Galactic Union Military Academy. The structures reached so high that they disappeared into the purple clouds above. Everything was big here. Everything except him. He was 19 years old, 175 centimeters tall, and the only human in the entire academy. When he stepped off the shuttle, the alien cadets around him towered over his head. Some had 4 arms. Some had scales. Some had skin that changed colors. All of them looked at him like he was a small bug that had wandered into the wrong place. Do-hyun kept his head down and walked toward the registration building. He had learned long ago that keeping quiet was the best way to survive. Do not attract attention. Do not make trouble. Do not give anyone a reason to notice you. The registration officer was a tall creature with blue skin and 6 eyes. She looked at Do-hyun's documents and then looked at him. All 6 of her eyes blinked at different times. "Human," she said. The word sounded like an insult. "You are the first of your kind to attend this academy. Do you understand how unusual this is?" "Yes," Do-hyun said quietly. "Humans have only been part of the Galactic Union for 12 years. Many species believe your kind was admitted as a political favor, not because you earned it." She stamped his documents with more force than necessary. "Your dormitory is in Building 7. Try not to cause problems." Do-hyun took his documents and walked away without another word. Building 7 was the oldest dormitory on campus. The walls were cracked, the heating system made strange noises, and the lights flickered every few minutes. Do-hyun understood immediately. They had given him the worst building because he was human. He did not complain. He had slept in worse places. His room was small but clean. He unpacked his few belongings and placed them carefully on the shelf. A photograph of his mother, a small stone from Earth, and a thermal container that could keep food warm for days. His mother had given it to him before he left. "I will send you food every month," she had said, tears in her eyes. "Real Korean food. You should not forget where you come from." Do-hyun touched the container gently. It was empty now, but the first package would arrive soon. He could already imagine the taste of his mother's cooking. Kimchi jjigae, doenjang soup. The flavors of home. The first week at the academy was difficult. Classes were hard, but Do-hyun was smart. He understood the material quickly. The real problem was everything else. The alien cadets did not talk to him. When he sat at a table in the mess hall, everyone else moved away. When he walked down the hallways, other cadets would step aside and whisper to each other. He heard fragments of their conversations. That is the human. So small. How did it even pass the entrance tests? Earth species are weak. They should not be here. Do-hyun ignored all of it. He went to class, he studied, he trained, and he ate alone. Always alone. On the 8th day, he met Torval. Torval was a Vraxian, one of the warrior races of the galaxy. He stood almost 3 meters tall, with dark green scales covering his body and 4 muscular arms. His father was a famous general who had won many battles. Torval believed this made him important. Do-hyun was walking to his next class when Torval stepped in front of him. 4 other Vraxians stood behind their leader, all of them grinning with their sharp teeth. "So you are the human," Torval said. His voice was deep and rough. I wanted to see what all the talk was about. He leaned down until his face was close to Do-hyun's. "You are even smaller than I expected." Do-hyun said nothing. He tried to walk around Torval, but one of the other Vraxians blocked his path. "I did not say you could leave," Torval said. "On my planet, when someone speaks to you, you answer. Do humans not have manners?" "I do not want trouble," Do-hyun said quietly. "Please let me go to class." Torval laughed. The sound echoed through the hallway. "It speaks." The little human speaks. He looked at his friends. Did you hear that? It said please. How cute. The other Vraxians laughed too. One of them poked Do-hyun's shoulder with a clawed finger. The touch was rough, almost hard enough to bruise. Listen carefully, human, Torval said. This academy is for real warriors. Real species. Not soft little creatures from primitive planets. You do not belong here. He straightened up and crossed all four of his arms. I am going to make sure you understand that. Every single day until you leave. Torval and his group walked away, still laughing. Do-hyun stood in the hallway for a long moment, his face showing nothing. Then he continued to class. That night, he received the first package from his mother. Inside was a container of kimchi jjigae, still warm from the thermal packaging. There was also a letter. My dear son, the letter said, I hope you are making friends at your new school. I know it must be hard being so far from home. Remember that you are strong, stronger than you know. But also remember to be kind. Try to share your food with others. Good food brings people together. I am so proud of you. Love, Mom. Do-hyun read the letter 3 times. Then he ate the kimchi jjigae slowly, savoring every bite. His mother's cooking tasted like home, like safety, like love. The next day, he brought extra food to the mess hall. He hoped that maybe, if he offered to share, someone might sit with him. Someone might talk to him. Someone might see him as more than just the human. He sat at his usual table in the corner and opened the container. The smell of Korean food filled the air around him. A few alien cadets looked over with curiosity, but none of them approached. Do-hyun ate alone again. This became his routine. Every month, his mother sent food. Every day, he brought some to the mess hall. Every day, he ate alone. He never complained. He never caused trouble. He went to class. He trained. He improved. His scores were among the highest in his year, but the instructors never praised him. The other cadets never acknowledged him. 3 months passed. Torval and his group continued their harassment. They would knock books from Do-hyun's hands. They would block his path in hallways. They would make jokes about humans in class, always looking at him to see his reaction. Do-hyun never reacted. He kept his face blank and his mouth closed. Some of the other aliens watched these interactions with interest. A few seemed uncomfortable, but none of them helped. One cadet, a Korean girl named Kang Soin, who had arrived recently as an exchange student, watched Do-hyun with worried eyes. She wanted to say something, but she was also new, also human, also afraid. On the first day of the 4th month, Do-hyun received a special package from his mother. It was his favorite meal, her homemade kimchi jjigae with extra tofu, just the way he liked it. The letter inside was short. Happy birthday, my son. I wish I could be there with you. Eat well. I love you. Do-hyun had forgotten his own birthday. He smiled for the first time in months and carried the thermal container to the mess hall. He would eat his birthday meal and think of home. He sat at his usual table and opened the container. Steam rose from the red soup, carrying the familiar smell of fermented vegetables and spices. For a moment, Do-hyun was not on an alien planet. He was back in his mother's kitchen, watching her cook. Then a shadow fell over his table. Torval stood there with his 4 friends. His sharp teeth were showing a cruel smile. What is that smell? Torval asked loudly. The entire mess hall could hear him. It smells like something died and rotted. The other Vraxians laughed. Do-hyun did not look up. He picked up his spoon and began to eat. Torval's smile disappeared. He did not like being ignored. He reached down with one of his massive hands and grabbed the thermal container. Do-hyun's hand shot out and caught Torval's wrist. For 1 second, their eyes met. Something flickered in Do-hyun's gaze. Something dark and cold. Then it was gone. He released Torval's wrist and returned to his food. The mess hall was silent. No one had ever seen the human touch of Raxian before. Torval's scales flushed darker with anger. He had been embarrassed in front of everyone. His hand tightened around the container. "You dare touch me?" he hissed. "A weak little human dares to touch a Raxian warrior?" He ripped the container from the table and held it high above his head. Do-hyun stood up slowly, his eyes fixed on the container. "Please," Do-hyun said. His voice was calm, but there was something underneath it. Something heavy. "That is from my mother." Torval laughed. "Your mother? The female who produced such a pathetic creature?" He turned the container upside down. The kimchi jjigae, Do-hyun's birthday meal, his only connection to home, fell to the floor in a red splash. The soup spread across the tiles, steam rising from the mess. 300 alien cadets watched in silence. Torval dropped the empty container onto the spilled food and ground it under his foot. The metal bent and cracked. "That is what I think of your mother's food," Torval said. "And that is what I think of humans." Do-hyun stared at the ruined meal on the floor. His hands hung at his sides. His face showed nothing. Across the hall, Soyeon stood up from her seat. Her heart was pounding. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. She could see it in the way Do-hyun was standing. Too still. Too quiet. Torval leaned close to Do-hyun's ear. "What are you going to do, human?" "Cry." Do-hyun raised his head slowly. He looked at his hands, his small human hands, and then he looked at Torval. "That was from my mother," he said again. But this time, his voice was different. Flat. Empty. Like something inside him had switched off, or switched on. The kimchi jjigae lay scattered across the floor like a wound. Red soup spread in all directions, with pieces of tofu and vegetables floating in the mess. Steam rose slowly into the air, carrying the smell of fermented cabbage and spices. The smell of home. The smell of his mother's love. Do-hyun stared at it. He could not look away. He remembered the day his mother taught him to make this dish. He was young then, maybe 8 years old. She had stood behind him, guiding his small hands as he stirred the pot. "The secret is patience," she had told him. "Good food takes time. You cannot rush love." He remembered eating this same dish after the worst night of his life. His mother had stayed up all night making it, even though she was crying. She put the bowl in front of him and said nothing. She just held his hand while he ate. That was 7 years ago. He had not spoken about that night since. Now the food was on the floor, destroyed, wasted. Torval was still talking. His voice seemed far away, like sound traveling through water. "Look at the little human. It cannot even speak. Maybe it is broken." The other Raxians laughed. One of them, a cadet named Draxus, kicked some of the spilled food toward Do-hyun's feet. Red soup splashed onto his boots. "We should make it clean this up," Draxus said. With his tongue. More laughter. Do-hyun did not move. His eyes were still fixed on the floor, on the bent and broken thermal container his mother had given him. He could see the dent where Torval had stepped on it. The metal was cracked now. It would never keep food warm again. Something inside. Do-hyun began to shift. It was like a door opening in his mind. A door he had kept locked for 7 years. Behind that door were memories he did not want to see. Sounds he did not want to hear. A version of himself that he had buried deep. The door was opening now. He could feel it. Torval grabbed Do-hyun's collar and lifted him off the ground. The Raxian's 4 arms could easily handle the weight of a small human. He brought Do-hyun's face close to his own. "I asked you a question, human. Are you broken? Should I finish breaking you?" Do-hyun looked into Torval's yellow eyes. Something in his gaze made the Raxian hesitate. For just a moment, Torval felt uncomfortable. He did not know why. "Put me down," Dalian said. His voice was quiet, calm. There was no fear in it. No anger, nothing at all. Torval did not put him down. Instead, he laughed again and shook Doyun like a toy. "It gives me orders." The tiny human gives orders to a Vraxian warrior. He looked at his friends. "What should I do with it?" "Break its arms," one of them suggested. "No, its legs." "Then it cannot run away." "Break its face." "That flat human face is ugly anyway." Dohan stopped listening to their words. He was somewhere else now. Somewhere dark and cold. He was 12 years old again, hiding in the ruins of his home on Kepler 442. He could smell smoke and blood. He could hear screams that had stopped hours ago. He was alone, completely alone, and something was hunting him in the darkness. No, not something, someone, many someones. He had survived that night. He had done things to survive. Terrible things. Necessary things. Things that the military had sealed in classified files because they did not want anyone to know what a 12-year-old human could do. When pushed far enough, Doyun blinked. He was back in the mess hall. Torval was still holding him. The Vraxian was saying something about teaching humans their place. Across the hall, Soyen was standing at her table. Her hands were shaking. She could see what was happening, but she did not know what to do. She was human too. She was small too. What could she do against 5 Vraxian warriors? But she could see something the Vraxians could not. She could see the change in Doyun. His body was different now. His shoulders had dropped slightly. His arms were loose at his sides. His breathing had changed, becoming slow and deep. His eyes had changed most of all. They were not empty anymore. They were focused, sharp, calculating. She had seen eyes like that before. Her grandfather had been a soldier. He had that same look sometimes when he talked about the war. The look of someone who had killed and would kill again if necessary. Soyen opened her mouth to shout a warning. She did not know who she was warning. The Vraxians or Doyun. Torval threw Doyun against the table. The human's back hit the edge hard, and he fell to his knees beside his ruined birthday meal. The thermal container was right in front of his face, bent and broken and covered in soup. "Stay down there," Torval said. "That is where humans belong. On their knees." Doyun picked up the container. He turned it over in his hands, looking at the damage. His mother had saved money for weeks to buy this container. She had packed his food with so much care, so much love. She had written him a birthday letter. "Happy birthday, my son. I wish I could be there with you. Eat well. I love you." The door in his mind opened all the way. Dohyun stood up slowly. He held the broken container in one hand. When he raised his head, his eyes were different. They were the eyes of the thing that had survived. Kepler 442. The thing that had walked out of the ruins when search teams arrived 6 months later. The thing that the military doctors had spent 2 years trying to help him forget. "You spilled my mother's food," Doyun said. His voice was flat, cold, like ice over deep water. Torval laughed nervously. Something was wrong. He could feel it now. Every instinct in his body was screaming at him, telling him that he was in danger. But that was impossible. This was just a human. A small, weak human. "Yes, I did," Torval said. He forced confidence into his voice. "What are you going to do about it?" Dohyun placed the broken container gently on the table. He looked at it for a long moment, as if saying goodbye to something precious. "I promised my mother I would try to make friends," he said quietly. "I promised her I would be good, that I would control myself." He paused. "She worked so hard to make that food. She wrote me a letter. She told me she was proud of me." The mess hall was completely silent now. 300 aliens watched, sensing that something was about to happen. Something important. I have been patient, Do-hyun continued. For 3 months, I have been patient. You pushed me. You insulted me. You made every day difficult. I did not fight back. I kept my promise to my mother. He turned to face Torval. The Vraxian took an unconscious step backward. His 4 hands were clenched into fists, but he could not make himself attack. His body refused to move forward. But you touched her food, Do-hyun said. You destroyed her gift. You stepped on the container she gave me. His voice dropped even lower. That was a mistake. One of the Vraxians behind Torval, a young cadet named Vrek, suddenly felt his legs shaking. He did not understand why. His species was stronger than humans, faster than humans. They had 4 arms and armored scales. They were warriors, but his body was afraid. His ancient instincts, millions of years old, were telling him to run. Torval tried to laugh. The sound came out wrong. You think you can threaten me? You are just a human. A weak, pathetic human from a weak, pathetic planet. You do not know anything about my planet, Do-hyun said. You do not know anything about my species. You think we are weak because we are small, because we do not have scales or claws or forearms. He tilted his head slightly, like a predator studying its prey. Do you know what kind of planet Earth is? No one answered. Earth is what the Galactic Union calls a death world, Do-hyun said. Our planet tried to kill us every day for millions of years. Everything on our world is dangerous. The weather, the animals, the plants. Even the water can kill you if you are not careful. He took a step forward, and yet we survived. We did more than survive. We became the dominant species. Torval tried to hold his ground, but his feet moved backward on their own. Do you know how we did that? Do-hyun asked. We did it by being the best killers on the planet. We hunted everything. We ate everything. We adapted to everything. Another step forward. We are not strong like Vraxians. We are not fast like Talari. We do not have natural weapons or armor. He was close to Torval now. Close enough to touch. But we are persistent, Do-hyun said. We never stop. We never give up. When something hurts us, we do not forget. When something threatens our families, we do not forgive. His eyes locked onto Torval's. And when something touches our mother's food, we break it. For the first time in his life, Torval felt real fear. Not the fear of losing a fight. The fear of being prey. The ancient primal fear that his ancestors had felt when something hunted them in the darkness of their primitive world. I'm going to give you one chance, Do-hyun said. His voice was barely a whisper now. Walk away. Apologize to my mother. Leave me alone forever. Do this, and I will keep my promise. I will stay good. I will stay controlled. The mess hall waited. Torval's fear mixed with anger and shame. He was a Vraxian warrior. His father was a general. He could not back down from a human. Not in front of everyone. Not when his reputation was at stake. He made his choice. I will break you, Torval growled. He raised all 4 of his fists. I will send you back to your mother in pieces. Do-hyun closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, the last trace of the quiet, polite cadet was gone. What remained was something else. Something that had been sleeping for 7 years. Then I am sorry, mother, he whispered. I tried. Across the hall, Soin covered her mouth with her hand. She had seen the moment the change became complete. The boy named Park Do-hyun had disappeared. Something else stood in his place. The Vraxian behind Torval, the one named Draxus. 17 security cameras recorded what happened next. Each one captured a different angle of the mess hall. Later, military analysts would study this footage for years. They would slow it down frame by frame, trying to understand how one small human could do what Park Do-hyun did. They would never fully understand. Second one. Torval's fist came down like a hammer. Raxians were known for their crushing strength. One punch could break bones, crack skulls, end lives. The fist moved toward Do-hyun's head with enough force to kill Dot. It never landed. Do-hyun did not dodge. He did not block. Instead, he stepped into the attack, moving closer to Torval instead of away. His left hand came up and touched Torval's wrist. It was not a grab. It was not a strike. It was something else. A precise manipulation of the joint that used Torval's own momentum against him. The wrist snapped with a sound like a dry branch breaking. Torval opened his mouth to scream, but the pain had not reached his brain yet. His body was still trying to understand what had happened. How had the human moved so fast? How had he known exactly where to apply pressure? Second two, Do-hyun continued his motion, flowing like water around Torval's massive body. His right hand shot out and grabbed Torval's second arm, the one that was already swinging toward him. He did not try to stop it. He guided it, redirecting the force downward. Torval's own punch drove his elbow into the floor. Another snap. Another broken limb. Now the pain hit. Torval screamed, a high-pitched sound that did not match his massive body. He stumbled backward, two of his forearms hanging useless at his sides. Second three. Draxus, the Vraxian with the blade, attacked. He had seen what happened to Torval, but his warrior training told him to strike while the enemy was close. The blade cut through the air in a horizontal arc aimed at Do-hyun's throat. Do-hyun dropped, not down, not back, down and forward, sliding under the blade like a snake. His body moved in ways that seemed impossible, joints bending at angles that would be painful for most species. Humans, the analyst would later note, have unusually flexible bodies. They can twist and bend in ways that other species cannot predict. He came up inside Draxus's guard, too close for the blade to be useful. His palm struck the Vraxian's throat. The hit was precise, surgical. It collapsed the windpipe without crushing it completely. Draxus dropped his blade and grabbed his throat with all four hands. He could not breathe. He could not scream. He fell to his knees, mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Second four. Do-hyun caught the falling blade before it hit the ground. He did not keep it. Instead, he threw it across the room, far away from the fight. He did not need weapons. He was the weapon. Torval was still screaming, clutching his broken arms. Draxus was on his knees, choking. Three Vrasians remained. Vrek, a large male with darker scales. Haxan, who had suggested breaking Do-hyun's legs. And Chorus, the youngest of the group. They attacked together. Second five. Vrek and Haxan came from opposite sides. A classic pincer movement. They had trained for this many times. Surround the enemy, overwhelm with numbers. It was basic Vraxian tactics, but Do-hyun was not standing still. He moved toward Haxan, the one on his left. The Vraxian swung with two arms at once, a powerful combination that should have crushed anything in its path. Do-hyun slipped between the punches, his body twisting impossibly. His fingers found a spot on Haxan's neck, just below the jaw. He pressed. Haxan's eyes rolled back. His body went limp. He felt like a puppet with cut strings. The analysts would pause the footage here many times. The spot Do-hyun had pressed was not common knowledge. It was a nerve cluster specific to Vraxian anatomy, hidden beneath their scales. Most doctors did not know its exact location. Do-hyun had found it in less than a second while moving at full speed. Second six. Vrek's punch caught only air. Do-hyun was no longer there. He had used Haxan's falling body as cover, spinning around it to approach Vrek from an unexpected angle. Three quick strikes. The first to the knee joint, exactly where the armored scales were weakest. the second to the cluster of nerves under the right arms, the third to the base of the spine. Vrek collapsed. He was conscious but could not move. His legs refused to obey him. His arms hung at his sides, numb and useless. He lay on the floor, staring at the ceiling, unable to understand what had just happened to him. Second 7. Chorus, the youngest Ratchian, had not moved. He stood frozen, watching his friends fall one by one. His warrior training screamed at him to attack, to help, to do something. But his body would not listen. He understood now. He understood what his instincts had been trying to tell him. This human was not prey. This human was something else entirely. Diane turned to look at him. Their eyes met. Chorus saw nothing in those human eyes. No anger, no satisfaction, no emotion at all. Just cold, efficient calculation. The eyes of something that killed not out of passion, but out of necessity. Chorus raised all 4 of his hands. "I surrender," he said. His voice was shaking. "I surrender, please." Second 8. Do-hyun walked past him. Chorus was not a threat. He knew that. His body knew that. There was no need to hurt him, but Torval was still standing. The leader of the Bullies had recovered from the initial shock of his broken arms. Rage filled his eyes. His family honor was at stake. His reputation was destroyed. Even with 2 broken arms, he would not back down. He lunged at Do-hyun with his 2 remaining arms, claws extended. A Vraxian's claws could cut through steel. Even with only 2 arms, he could do terrible damage. Second 9. Do-hyun did not retreat. He stepped forward into the attack, just as he had done at the beginning. His left hand caught Torval's 3rd arm at the elbow. His right hand caught the 4th arm at the wrist. He twisted both in opposite directions. The sounds of breaking bone echoed through the silent mess hall. Torval's last 2 arms hung useless. All 4 of his limbs were now destroyed, but Do-hyun was not finished. He swept Torval's legs, dropping the massive Vraxian to the floor. Then he stood over him, 1 foot on Torval's chest, and looked down at the creature that had ruined his mother's food. Second 10. Do-hyun's fist came down, fast, hard, precise. It struck Torval's skull at exactly the right point. Not hard enough to kill, not soft enough to merely hurt. The exact amount of force needed to cause unconsciousness without permanent brain damage. Torval's eyes closed. His body went limp. Silence. The fight was over. 10 seconds. 5 Vraxians. All of them broken, unconscious, or unable to move. Do-hyun stood in the center of the mess hall, surrounded by fallen bodies. His breathing was steady. His hands were not shaking. There was no blood on him, no sign that he had just dismantled 5 warriors twice his size. 300 aliens stared at him in complete silence. No one moved. No one spoke. They had just witnessed something that should have been impossible. Do-hyun looked at the floor. His mother's food was still there, mixed with the soup and scattered across the tiles. The broken thermal container lay nearby. He walked to it slowly. His footsteps were the only sound in the hall. He knelt down and picked up the container. It was bent and cracked, beyond repair. But he held it gently, carefully, like something precious. "I am sorry, Mother," he whispered. "I wasted it." He stayed there for a long moment, kneeling beside the ruined meal, holding the broken container. His face showed nothing, but if anyone had looked closely at his eyes, they would have seen something there. Something that looked almost like sadness. Then the doors of the mess hall burst open. Academy security rushed in, weapons drawn. 20 armed guards surrounded Do-hyun, shouting orders. Hands grabbed him, pulling him away from the container. Someone pressed his face to the floor. Someone else locked restraints around his wrists. Do-hyun did not resist. He let them take him. He had done what he needed to do. The rest did not matter. As they dragged him toward the exit, he passed the table where Soyeon was sitting. Their eyes met for a brief moment. He saw tears on her face. He did not understand why she was crying. "I am sorry," he said to her. The words came out automatically, a reflex built over years of trying to be normal. "I did not mean to scare you." Then he was gone, pulled through the doors and out of the mess hall. Soyeon stayed at her table, shaking. She looked at the 5 Raxians being carried away on stretchers. She looked at the blood and the broken scales on the floor. She looked at the spot where Do-yoon had knelt, holding his mother's container around her. The mess hall slowly came back to life. Aliens began to whisper, then to talk, then to shout. Everyone was asking the same questions. How had the human done that? What was he? What kind of monster had Earth sent to their academy? But Soyeon was thinking something different. She had seen his face when he apologized to his mother. She had seen the way he held the broken container. She understood something that the others did not. Park Do-yoon was not a monster. He was something worse. He was a boy who had lost something precious. And for 10 seconds, he had let the world see what lived inside him. What lived inside all humans. Buried deep beneath their soft skin and kind smiles. The thing that had made them the apex predators of a death world. The thing that never forgot and never forgave. The holding cell was white and clean and empty. 4 walls, 1 light, and a bench to sit on. Nothing else. Do-yoon had been here for 6 hours. He had not spoken. He had not asked for food or water. He just sat on the bench, staring at the wall. He was thinking about his mother. She would be so disappointed when she heard about this. She had worked so hard to help him become normal again. Years of therapy. Years of patience. Years of carefully teaching them how to be a person instead of a survivor. And he had ruined it all in 10 seconds. The door opened. Academy Commander Voss entered. She was tall for her species, with silver skin and 3 eyes arranged in a triangle on her face. She had commanded fleets. She had won wars. She was not someone who frightened easily, but her hands were trembling as she sat down across from Do-yoon. In her hand was a folder. "His file. Your records were sealed," she said. Her voice was carefully controlled. "Above my clearance level. I had to contact Earth directly to get permission to read them." Do-yoon said nothing. "Do you know what the Kepler 442 massacre was?" she asked. Do-yoon's eyes flickered. Just for a moment. Then he went back to staring at the wall. "It was 7 years ago," Commander Voss continued. "A human colony on the edge of explored space. 2,000 colonists, farmers, scientists, families." She opened the folder. One night, raiders attacked. A group called the Red Fang Syndicate. They had done this before to other colonies. They would kill everyone, take anything valuable, and disappear before help could arrive. She turned a page in the folder. But something went wrong on Kepler 442. The raiders attacked as planned. They killed most of the colonists in the first few hours. But when they tried to leave, they found that their ships would not start. Someone had sabotaged them. Do-yoon's hands tightened slightly on his knees. "The raiders were trapped on the planet," Commander Voss said. "And something started hunting them. One by one, they disappeared. Their weapons were stolen. Their supplies were destroyed. They could not sleep because something was always watching them. Always waiting." She looked at Do-yoon. He still would not meet her eyes. 6 months later, when a rescue team finally arrived, they found something impossible. Every single raider was dead. All 47 of them. And in the middle of the ruins, sitting alone in what used to be his home, they found a 12-year-old boy. Commander Voss closed the folder. "They found you." The cell was silent. "The rescue team tried to understand what had happened," she continued. They collected evidence. They reconstructed the timeline. But the more they learned, the more confused they became. A child had killed 47 armed raiders over 6 months. Not with weapons or technology. With traps. With patience. With an understanding of fear that no child should have. She leaned forward. The military sealed your records because they did not want anyone to know what a human child could become when pushed far enough. They were afraid of what the other species would think. She paused. After watching the footage from today, I understand why. Do-hyun finally spoke. His voice was quiet, tired. I did not want to hurt them. I believe you. I tried to stay calm. I tried to walk away. My mother taught me how to control it, how to keep the door closed. He looked at his hands. But they destroyed her food. They broke her container. And the door opened, and I could not close it. Commander Voss nodded slowly. Why did you hold back for so long? You could have stopped them the first day. The first hour. My mother asked me to try, Do-hyun said. She packed extra food so I could share. She wanted me to make friends. A small, sad smile crossed his face. No one ever wanted to share. The door opened again. A woman walked in. She was human, middle-aged, with short black hair and sharp eyes. She wore the formal uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. I am Choi Hae-jin, she said. Earth's representative to the Galactic Union. Commander Voss stood. The Vraxian general is demanding the cadet's execution. He says his son was attacked without provocation. Representative Choi smiled. It was not a friendly smile. I have already seen the security footage, she said. 17 cameras recorded everything. They show Vraxian cadets harassing a human cadet for 3 months. They show illegal weapons being drawn inside the academy. They show 5 Vraxians attacking first. She put a data pad on the table. I have prepared a counter-demand. Full investigation of the bullying. Criminal charges against the Vraxian cadets. And a formal apology from the Vraxian government. Commander Voss's 3 eyes widened. The general will never agree to that. Then I will release the footage to the galactic media, Choi Hae-jin said calmly. The entire galaxy will see what really happened. They will see Vraxian warriors beating a lone human for months. They will see them destroy food sent by a mother to her son on his birthday. And they will see what happened next. She looked at Do-hyun. Public opinion will not favor the Vraxians after that. Commander Voss was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. I will speak to the general. She left the cell. Choi Hae-jin sat down across from Do-hyun. Your mother contacted me, she said. Her voice was softer now. She was very worried. Do-hyun looked up. Is she angry? No, she was afraid that you would blame yourself. She asked me to tell you something. Choi Hae-jin paused. She says that she is proud of you, and that you did not fail. You kept control for 3 months. That is longer than she expected. Do-hyun's eyes filled with tears. He blinked them away quickly, but they came back. I broke my promise, he whispered. I hurt people. You defended yourself against 5 armed attackers. That is different. Choi Hae-jin reached across the table and put her hand on his. You are not a monster, Do-hyun. You are a survivor. There's a difference. The door opened a 3rd time. A young woman stood there, holding a bag. It was Yu Mai-rae, the diplomat's daughter. Do-hyun remembered seeing her around the academy. She was the only other human on the planet. I brought food, she said quietly. Your mother asked me to bring you something. She said you missed your birthday meal. She placed the bag on the table and opened it. Inside were several containers. Japchae, bulgogi, white rice. And at the bottom, in a new thermal container, kimchi jjigae. The smell filled the small cell. Do-hyun stared at the food. She made all this? He asked. His voice was barely audible. "She sent it through emergency transport," Myre said. "It cost a lot of money." She did not care. She pushed the containers toward him. She said to eat well, and that she loves you. Dahyun's hands were shaking as he picked up the chopsticks. He took a small piece of bulgogi and put it in his mouth. The familiar taste broke something inside him that he started to cry. Not quiet tears. Real crying. The kind he had not done since he was 12 years old, sitting in the ruins of his home, waiting for rescue that might never come. The kind of crying that hurts your chest and makes it hard to breathe. Myre and Choi Hae-jin said nothing. They just sat with him while he cried and ate, until the tears stopped and the food was gone. 2 hours later, the charges were dropped. The Vraxian general had watched the security footage and realized that his son was not the hero he had claimed to be. A quiet deal was made. The Vraxians would not demand punishment. Earth would not release the footage, but it was too late to stop the story from spreading. Someone had leaked a short clip of the fight. Just 5 seconds. Enough to show the human cadet dismantling the Vraxian leader like he was made of paper. It spread across the galactic network in hours. 4 billion views in the first day. Suddenly, everyone was talking about humans. About Earth. About the quiet species that had joined the Ds. Galactic Union and kept their heads down for 12 years. Were they really that weak? Were they really that harmless? Or had everyone been looking at them wrong? In his cell, Dahyun did not know any of this. He only knew that his stomach was full. His mother loved him. And tomorrow he would have to face the consequences of what he had done. But for now, in this moment, he was not alone. Myre was still there, sitting across from him. She had not left. "Why did you stay?" he asked. She shrugged. "Humans should stick together, especially here. I might be sent back to Earth. I might be expelled. Then I will visit you there." She smiled at him. It was a kind smile, the first kind smile he had received since arriving at the academy. "My grandmother makes great kimchi jjigae too. Maybe even better than your mother's." Dahyun almost smiled back. Almost. "I do not believe that," he said. "You will have to try it and see." It was a small moment. A tiny human connection in a cold alien cell. But it was enough. For the first time in 3 months, Park Do-hyun did not feel completely alone. 1 month later, Do-hyun walked back into the academy. Everything had changed. The hallways that used to be filled with whispers and insults were now silent when he passed. Aliens who had laughed at him before now stepped aside quickly, pressing their backs against the walls. They did not meet his eyes. They did not speak. They just waited for him to pass, and then they breathed again. Do-hyun did not like it. He had never wanted fear. He had wanted friends. He had wanted to be normal, to eat his mother's food and study hard, and maybe find someone to talk to at the end of the day. Instead, he had become the monster that parents would tell their children about. The human who destroyed 5 warriors in 10 seconds. His first class was basic combat strategy. When he entered the room, every conversation stopped. 30 alien cadets sat in perfect silence, watching him walk to his seat in the corner. The instructor, a 4-armed veteran named Commander Talix, cleared his throat nervously. "Cadet Park, welcome back." "Thank you, Commander." Do-hyun sat down. No one sat near him. The desks on either side remained empty, like a quarantine zone around something dangerous. The class continued, but Do-hyun could feel the stares on his back. He heard the whispers that started when the instructor turned to the board. He saw the way other cadets flinched when he moved too quickly. After class, he walked to the mess hall. He was not hungry, but routine was important. His mother had taught him that. Keep a schedule. Stay busy. Do not let the dark thoughts find empty space to grow. The mess hall was different now, too. There was a table in the corner that no one used anymore. His table. Aliens avoided it like the floor was poisoned. When Do-yoon sat down with his tray, the cadets at nearby tables quickly moved away. He ate alone. Again. Always alone. But then something unexpected happened. A tray appeared across from him. Someone sat down. A human someone. Kang So-yeon. She was the exchange student who had watched the fight from across the hall. The one who had cried when they dragged him away. She had short black hair and serious eyes, and a small scar on her chin that she had never explained. "Hello," she said. Do-hyun stared at her. "Why are you sitting here?" "Because I want to." She opened a container on her tray. The smell of Korean food filled the air. "My grandmother sent this. She makes the best japchae in Korea. I thought you might want to try some." She pushed the container toward him. Do-hyun did not move. "I could hurt you. You could hurt anyone. That does not mean you will." So-yeon picked up her chopsticks and started eating. "My grandfather was a soldier. He used to say that dangerous men are not the ones who fight. Dangerous men are the ones who enjoy it." She looked at him. "You did not enjoy it. I could see that." Around them, the mess hall had gone very quiet. Every alien in the room was watching the human girl sit down with the human monster. They could not understand it. Did she not know what he was? Did she not see what he had done? So-yeon ignored them all. "Try the japchae," she said, "before it gets cold." Do-hyun slowly picked up his chopsticks. He took a small bite. The noodles were perfect, sweet and savory and soft. It reminded him of the japchae his mother used to make before everything happened. "It is good," he said quietly. So-yeon smiled. "I told you." They ate together in silence. It was not an uncomfortable silence. It was the silence of two people who understood that words were not always necessary. The silence of two humans surrounded by aliens who would never fully understand them. When the meal was finished, So-yeon stood up. "Same time tomorrow?" she asked. Do-hyun nodded. He did not trust himself to speak. She walked away, and Do-hyun sat alone again. But something was different now. The loneliness felt lighter. The darkness felt further away. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy continued to change. The video of the fight had spread everywhere. Billions of beings across thousands of worlds had watched a human cadet destroy 5 Raxian warriors like they were children playing at war. Military analysts published reports. Scientists published papers. Everyone wanted to understand. How had he known their weak points? How had he moved so fast? How had a species classified as developing world produced something like this? The answers were troubling. Humans, the researchers discovered, were not what they seemed. Their small bodies had incredible endurance. They could run for days without stopping. They could survive injuries that would kill other species. They could adapt to any environment, any climate, any challenge, and their brains were perhaps the most terrifying thing of all. Human brains were constantly processing, constantly analyzing, constantly learning. They observed and cataloged and remembered everything. When Do-hyun had fought the Vraxians, he had not been guessing. He had been applying 3 months of careful observation. Every time they had pushed him or blocked his path, he had been studying them, learning their anatomy, finding their weaknesses. Humans did not fight like other species. They did not charge in with strength or speed. They waited. They watched. They learned. And then they struck with perfect precision. The Galactic Union quietly changed Earth's classification. They removed the label developing world and replaced it with something new. Something that had not been used in 300 years. Apex Predator Origin. 12 new human cadets were admitted to the academy the next semester. They were young and eager, and completely unaware of the fear their species now inspired. They sat together in the mess hall, laughing and sharing food, while aliens watched them nervously from across the room. What were they? What could they become if someone pushed them too far? No one wanted to find out. Dain watched the new humans from his corner table. Soyan sat across from him, eating her grandmother's cooking. Myray sometimes joined them too, bringing news from her father's diplomatic work. 3 humans together. A tiny group in an ocean of aliens. They look happy, Soyan said, nodding toward the new cadets. I hope they stay that way. They will, Do-hyun said. No one will bother them. He was right. The new cadets faced no bullying, no insults, no harassment. The aliens had learned their lesson. Humans might look small and weak, but inside them was something ancient and terrible. Something that remembered every hurt, every insult, every drop of spilled food. Some nights, Do-hyun still had nightmares. He dreamed of Kepler 442, of fire and blood and the sounds of screaming that stopped too suddenly. He dreamed of the dark months alone, when he became something less than human to survive. He dreamed of the door in his mind opening and the thing behind it coming out. But now, when he woke up shaking, he was not alone. His communicator would buzz with a message from Soyan. Could not sleep either. Want to study together? Or Myray would knock on his door with tea and cookies. My mother sent too much. Help me eat these. Or his mother would call, her face warm on the screen. I just wanted to see you. How's my son today? He was learning to be human again, slowly, painfully. But he was learning. On the last day of the semester, an alien cadet approached him. It was Chorus, the youngest Raxian, the one who had surrendered during the fight. He walked toward Do-hyun's table with obvious fear in his eyes, but he kept walking anyway. Soyan tensed. Do-hyun put a hand on her arm. Wait, he said. Kors stopped a few feet away. He looked like he wanted to run, but he forced himself to speak. I wanted to apologize, he said. His voice was shaking. For what we did, what I helped do. It was wrong. Do-hyun looked at him for a long moment. The mess hall was silent. Everyone was watching. I accept your apology, Do-hyun said finally. Chorus blinked. He had clearly expected anger or violence or at least cold dismissal. He had not expected acceptance. Thank you, he stammered. I wanted to ask. I have been struggling with my studies. The tactical analysis courses. I heard that your scores are the highest in the year. He took a deep breath. Would you help me study? Another long silence. Soyan raised her eyebrows. Do-hyun's face was unreadable. Then he nodded. Sit down, he said. Soyan's grandmother sent enough food for 3. Chorus sat. His hands were shaking as he picked up the chopsticks. Human food looked strange to him, but he tried it anyway. It is good, he said with surprise. I know, Soyan said. My grandmother is the best cook in Korea. The 3 of them ate together. A human boy who had survived hell. A human girl who had chosen to see past the violence. And a Raxian cadet who was brave enough to apologize. It was not friendship. Not yet, but it was a beginning. Across the galaxy, a saying began to spread. It started in military academies and traveled to merchant ships, from space stations to colony worlds. Parents told it to children. Commanders told it to soldiers. Everyone learned it. Never touch a human's food. Never touch a human's family. Never make a human remember what they really are. Do-hyun heard the saying once, overheard in a corridor between classes. He stopped walking for a moment, thinking about it. Then he shook his head and kept moving. He was more than what he had been on Kepler 442, more than the thing that had survived alone in the dark. He was a cadet, a student, a friend, a son. His communicator buzzed. A message from his mother. I am sending your favorite next week. Extra tofu this time. I love you. Diane smiled. A real smile, small and quiet and genuine. He was learning to be human again. And maybe, slowly, the galaxy was learning what that really meant.